This is a Mortarbox Media podcast. For more podcasts and to learn how we can help you create your own, visit mortarboxmedia.com.
Hello and welcome to Women AF Podcast, a podcast hosted by three friends kind of holding it together. Today I'm joined by Nicole.
That's me.
And Carrie.
Howdy.
And I'm Danny. I don't know if I normally start by saying my name, but if you don't know, now you do.
Solid.
Thanks. That was a solid intro. I know what I'm doing. How's everybody doing? How is everyone else?
Hanging in there.
So good.
Living life. Loving life.
Long, awkward sigh.
Yes.
I know I normally ask for other people to start when it's my turn to host, but can I start?
Yes, please.
Do it.
I need to tell you my day. Okay. So, it's Earth Day is tomorrow, right? So we're doing like a whole sustainability week or whatever at work. So I've had and we're also going through an RFP process, and we're just there's a lot happening, right? Yeah. So the last 2 days, yesterday, I had from 9 to 1:30, I had meetings solid blocked that entire time. Just that's how my week is. It's just meeting, just that anyway. So, but I also have a lot of other things to get done. So it's just been a really busy, really intense week. So I kind of, went into today with kind of an expectation of how it was going to go. And then, so we let River out of her kennel at 6 in the morning, while we're getting ready and whatever.
Yeah.
And she immediately started vomiting.
Oh, no.
Yes. And so between 6 and 8, she had vomited 12 times, just nonstop. And the kind where it's her whole body was involved, right?
Yeah.
It looked exhausting. It looked painful. And after she was done, she'd have to just lay down. She wasn't eating. She wasn't drinking. So I had a meeting from 8 to 9. And just in that meeting, she vomited 3 times.
Oh, no.
So a lot. So,
yeah.
And it was not good. So I called the vet and I was last time we knew she had gotten into something, right? But so I didn't see her get into anything. Yesterday, she seemed fine, or at least more fine than this morning. She wasn't throwing up like this, whatever. But we thought she had kennel cough last week because she'd been doing that doggy cough where they sound like a goose or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they said take her to the emergency room. And I'm great. I was just here.
So know where to go is what you're saying.
And listen, so they're not a sponsor, but we really should look into Bivy Pet Insurance as a sponsor because listen, this is now the second time they've saved my butt. In fact, calculating it out based on the estimate of what we're going to spend this time around, it will have paid for itself for 10 years out.
Wow.
So what was it? Wait, what was it?
Oh, right. So we take her in, they do an x-ray of her stomach, and they're we can see that there's stuff in here, but it doesn't look like it's obstructing anything. So we don't think that's what it is. But in this x-ray, we also got a little bit of her lung in the x-ray, and it looks super cloudy. And we think she has pneumonia, and she is respirating or aspirating, whatever that word is. I don't remember the right word.
Yeah.
So they wanted permission to do another x-ray of her chest. And that is, so she has pneumonia, which I didn't even know dogs could get pneumonia, but so she has it, and it's apparently pretty bad. But she's also wouldn't stop vomiting there either. So they want to keep her as an inpatient because they were we can send you home with antibiotics, but if she can't take them, it's not going to do any good. And she she can't, she's having a hard time breathing. So my dog is an inpatient
Oh my
at the
gosh.
emergency room
On
for her
top of all
pneumonia.
the other stuff you gotta do.
Oh, your
Yes,
poor
and
dog.
Oh.
I know. So I feel really bad for her. That was literally my entire morning.
Was that this morning?
It was this morning. I didn't get back from taking her to the ER until like lunch. And then I was going back and forth with like the vet and like, can my parents pick up the kids and like all this stuff going on? Like that was then. So like that was happening. And I didn't get to all the stuff I had to do to work until like 1:00. And so I was just like, all the things I had to get done is just like, a lot less time to do them in, because that was not a thing I was expecting. That's not how I was expecting to spend my morning.
That's super stressful. Do you know when you're getting the doggy back?
Yeah.
Well, so we're supposed to get a call when the nurses switch shifts, and they're gonna tell us how she's doing, because they don't want to send her back home until she can keep stuff down. So like right now she's getting IV antibiotics.
Okay. Oh.
Dang.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
Poor all of you.
How do dogs get pneumonia? I've never heard of that happening. I mean,
yeah.
I don't have a lot of dog experience, but it seems pretty wild.
Right.
I guess they have lungs so they could get pneumonia, right?
I guess they do.
Science.
Yeah.
Gary with the
Drop my mic. I dropped my mic and
every time.
I
love it.
And it's not the cool kind of mic drop either. It's just a clumsy mic drop.
Well, you were kind of like science mic drop.
Yeah, there you go.
Got excited.
The thing is, I don't know how it happens because you don't even have to touch your microphone.
No, it's the cord. I get all tangled up in my cord when I get excited, like an animal. Like a dog on a leash. I'm just like trapped, like I'm all wrapped up.
Oh, no.
So
you need to calm down over there.
Yeah, I know.
Calm down.
Oof.
It's fine.
Well, I'm sorry you had such a unexpected and horrible and stressful day.
Yeah.
That sounds not great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still just a little wrapped up in the, I would say, historic news from yesterday. The Chauvin trial, the 3 counts of murder, guilty. That was just like a huge moment for our country. And I followed the trial through a lot of it. And let me tell you, I got a little too wrapped up mentally and emotionally. And you guys know I love a trial. Like, I love a trial. It's just fascinating. But I think I need to dial it back. I need to chill out on stuff like that because it took up a lot of my mental space.
Yeah.
But it was just such a relief.
Yeah.
To get the verdict.
The verdict.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, you mentioned that it's historic, and I don't disagree. But it's also kind of sad that it's historic.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Like, I feel like it's so sad that it was a surprise.
I mean, Rodney King happened 30 years ago or whatever, and we're still here. Here we are. So, I mean, hopefully this is the start of some change. We'll see. Yeah. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been a juror, Carrie?
I have, actually.
You have?
Have.
Interesting.
Yes. And it is interesting because it was not for anything violent or scary or terrifying, but it was like a breaking and entering sort of thing.
Ooh, that's.
And this is a long time ago, so I can't even really remember, but it was, it was intense, and it was almost a week long, actually. And even that, where no one was in danger, but it just got to like a sinister, creepy point in my brain, just like you're all day thinking about this crime, right? And it messed up my sleep, it was emotional and overwhelming, and it was minor. It was so minor. So I think that I've been thinking about the jurors and just So many things. Not just a regular trial is hard enough, but this one had so much attached to it, and they could have been scared for their own safety throughout this whole thing, and I don't know. Right. It's intense.
When you were in a jury and you went through the deliberation process, was like everyone kind of in agreement, or did you all have to like talk through it? Whatever you decided.
We did talk through it and like worked our way through certain points, but it wasn't too much trouble to come to an agreement. You know, we all kind of wanted to be on the same page, and that's why we're kind of like doing devil's advocate, and we really worked it through, and we really did our best. And
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
what's up with you, Nicole?
I don't know. Well, actually, I did find out something interesting, which I thought I would share. So I've really been in this struggle bus situation with my oldest daughter, in that she is such an extrovert and she loves to talk to people. Like, somebody's walking by the street, she's in the driveway, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Mally. This is Emmy." That, like, she tells our whole story, and I'm like, let's not give all the information out. Like, let's just maybe hold back a little bit. But I've been really stressed out about, like, when do I talk to her about stranger danger? Because that, as a kid, was really big and prevalent. Like, don't talk to any strangers. Like, just be careful because of everything. But I've recently talked with a few people, and they've introduced me to this concept of tricky people. Like, not stranger danger, but tricky people, which I love, because you can still help with this, extroverted self who loves people so much, but you can explain the difference between, like, a person and a tricky person who's asking you to keep secrets, who's, like, making,
asking you to do things with them.
Yes, or getting in the car. Like, that's a tricky person. You don't need to deal with tricky people. You need to run away screaming if you see a tricky person. Like,
that's funny because you're bringing back memory. I remember talking to my daughter about tricky people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I must have read it or whatever.
So is tricky people like another name for stranger danger? I've never heard of this before.
I'll send over a couple articles that I would read about. But yeah, it's basically where instead of this like overall fear of anybody that's new, it's this fear because most of the time when, situations that get uncomfortable and situations that are wrong happen, it's not a stranger. Like, only 1% is it ever a stranger. It's always like somebody So that integrating this, if it's a tricky person, if it's somebody who's making you feel weird feelings in your belly, like somebody who's asking you to keep secrets, like, they're tricky. You don't deal with that. Like, and then kind of not even talking about stranger danger, but just... Because
honestly, on the flip side, you don't want them to be scared of strangers, not just in general, but like if they need help, they should feel safe to go up and ask someone in case of emergency,
Right.
Find like a nice lady over there, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and like being in the Midwest, like that's one thing I didn't want to do is like diminish this beautiful Midwestern feel of like neighborly, hey, how, like this so sweet, innocent, a stranger, but you say hi to them. Like, I don't want to diminish that. I want to more cultivate this idea of like a tricky person, which I love. So,
and just cultivate that idea, that little idea in her head that not everybody is nice. Can be anybody, but not everybody is nice.
Yes.
Sorry to say, but they got to learn.
Yes, this is true. I will say one story is you also understand that some people go above and beyond for your kids. For example, my daughter's new fascination is screaming cock-a-doodle-doo in the mornings, which is great. So fun. Love
Sounds
it.
fun.
Yeah. And now on bike rides, that's what they do, is they just scream throughout the echoing street of cock-a-doodle-doo. Well, a stranger down the street, one of our neighbors, I don't know them, but they like dropped, they were raking their yard. They dropped their rake, got really excited and went cock-a-doodle-doo, like right back to them. Made their day.
That's so cute. I love that.
I love that.
It was amazing. Whoever that person was.
Yeah, you gotta have those moments.
I know. I know.
Also, maybe offer up some things to her that she can tell a stranger walking past your house, like I don't know what,
Right?
something that's not like revealing, or like I like pizza, or
Right. Yeah.
something that she'd be excited to share.
Yeah. I ride my bike fast. Boom. That means you can get away from strangers really fast.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Give her a few of those. Just plant those in her brain.
I know. I'm trying.
My mom's a professional bomb maker.
Good one. Yeah.
My dad's a black belt in karate.
Yeah. I
We have
like it.
security cameras everywhere.
Yeah. They're taking your picture right now.
There you go. See, plenty of options here.
I like it. I like it.
Well, there's no smooth way to segue into our topic, really. But our topic of the day is femininity. Femininity.
You said that perfectly.
Thank you. I
Yes.
was practicing. What is it? Are we it? Do we have it? How does it work? What does it mean to us? I don't know. This is actually Carrie's topic idea.
Yeah.
And we thought it was an interesting topic. So after the break, that's what we're gonna chat about.
There are a lot of news sources and things going on in the world to be informed about. If you're like me, you tend to go places and doom scroll from one news story to the next until you're totally engulfed and lost track of what else you were supposed to be doing. So how do you get a snippet of what's going on in the world without drowning? Enter the Morning Brew newsletter. It's a 5-minute read, keeps me up to date on the world around me, and it's informative and witty. And it's free. The Morning Brew even has industry-specific editions if you want a slightly more drilled-down update on what's happening in your specific industry, like retail, tech, or marketing. If you want to stay informed without being overwhelmed, sign up for free by going to our website at womenappodcast.com and clicking sponsors.
And we're back with femininity. Femininity?
Femininity.
Femininity.
Every time you got this.
All right. Okay. Carrie, since this was your topic idea, I kind of want you to just jump off with like what inspired you to think about this as a topic.
Okay, I think for me, the idea of femininity has always been kind of a tricky one. In just, I don't feel very feminine generally. I enjoy to try to be feminine once in a while, but it's not my natural state. And so I kind of always have had this kind of back and forth, like, yeah, but I just want to be like, kind of like regular and plain, but like I should try to like be more ladylike. Like it's kind of a war with me, right? That I go back and forth on. And then I always notice, as someone in fitness, like particularly there's this Facebook group, Danny, that I think you invited me to about lifting weights.
Probably.
It's a topic in there pretty frequently, pretty regularly, where someone will say, listen, like my boyfriend or my husband said he doesn't like, the muscles that I'm building and they're not feminine. And what do I do about that? And that always strikes me as messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it leads me to say, what is femininity? Is femininity not like a woman's muscles? It's just that really stereotypical, dainty, delicate thing that I just can't get on board with. I don't know. What do you think?
I liked this topic a lot because as someone who is 5'10", and I've always been like on the bigger side, so bigger in terms of like height and plus size or athletic or whatever, right? Like I've literally been called big girl, and maybe a nice way, maybe not, but it's also just kind of it was like a literal thing because like I am a big person. Like that's just the build of my body.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the idea of a woman being big is intended to be offensive, as if there is something inherently wrong about that, because a feminine woman, so like specifically like as femininity applies to women, right? It like there's this idea that in order to be feminine, you must be petite, you must be dainty, you must be delicate, long hair, like all these things. And not that, of course, there's anything wrong with any of those things, but it's almost like if you are not that, if you're too loud or too tall or too big or too anything really, too funny, too extra, too strong,
too loud.
I got that a lot as a kid. Too loud, too annoying, too know it all, And I feel like all of that is like it's like this assumption that is in some way not feminine.
Yes, exactly. And so is that true? What does it mean? What's the word mean? Nicole, what does the word mean? Tell me.
Well, I think it's really funny because for Patreon people, you see the screen, you see what, our backgrounds right now. And I'm looking at Danny's background and I see the Mean Girls movie poster. And that to me screams old school femininity. Where,
there you go.
Like long legs, super short, pink. Everything has to be pink. Like photoshopped self. And I think that's what's really hard about being in this day and age, is being that I am fully aware of how amazing Photoshop is, but I also understand that Photoshop is used to distort bodies to make it look more like attractable femininity parts. So
small,
long,
smaller, yeah,
body. Yeah.
Quiet. Yes, Adam.
I have never looked at that poster or saw that movie and looked at those girls and thought, that's femininity. It always seems like a crass attempt at what a teenage girl thinks femininity is. So it's very interesting as a male listener to hear you guys say that is what you guys are told that femininity actually is, because I always perceived it. I guess I always thought that everybody perceived that the same way, as like, that's not actually femininity. That's like a fucked up thing that is being used as an example of the fucked up thing.
I think what it is like, I even remember in middle school, I have vague memories of a specific movie, but there's only a couple scenes I remember. So if any listener knows what movie I am talking about, I would be super curious to hear what it's actually called. But it was a movie with like two sisters. It was like a soul swapping movie, right? Like there's been a bunch of these, like it's kind of like a Freaky Friday thing. It wasn't Freaky
Was it
Friday.
Ashley Kate and Mary? Ashley Kate and
Mary Kay and Ashley.
Thank you. I couldn't get it back. I was like, I can't do it. I can't flip it back around.
The reason you couldn't is because your brain kept wanting to say the right name. You said Ashley Kate, and then
I kept
trying to just say Mary, but you knew it was Mary Kate, so your brain was like, no, say Kate, and you were like, no, but I already said Kate.
Oh God, I'm exhausted.
Okay, no, it was not. It was not. It Takes Two, which, if you'll remember from a previous, was the only thing I wanted for my 6th grade Christmas.
Yep.
Such a good callback.
It was not that movie. It was one of those that went straight to TV, right? Like
Okay.
it was like there was no big release. That I don't remember. It was small enough actors. Like I don't remember who they are. I think it was like
Okay.
a Disney Channel movie or something.
Oh.
But anyway, so two Swisters.
We are struggling today.
We cannot talk today. Okay. Two sisters, something happened, lightning strike, whatever, they switched bodies, right? One of them was very like this mean girl stereotype, super popular in the in crowd, very like quote unquote feminine. The other one was like super quote unquote tomboy, very not feminine, whatever. Here's what I remember from the movie. The way this movie was perceived, it was very much tomboy bad, feminine girl good. Feminine girl and her in-crowd crew had, like, similar to Mean Girls, a list of rules they had to follow. So like in Mean Girls, it's like Wednesdays we were pink, whatever. The one thing I remember of this movie is that she was required by her friends to shave her legs every day.
Oh.
Isn't that a weird thing to put in a kids movie? I feel like
it's very weird. I like that at all.
And there is one scene where after they switch, the tomboy sister that's in the feminine sister's body, so weird sentence, but go with me, decides to not shave, heaven forbid, but she tries to cover her stubble with like knee-high socks and a short skirt. So again, we're getting very like creepy girl
schoolgirl outfit.
And like her friends freak out and like call out her stubble.
How old are they in this movie?
I swear this was like a middle school movie. Like they were supposed to be in like middle school, maybe early high school.
It's very strange.
I really, if anyone knows the name of this movie, please tell me. I really like want to know now, but like I have very vivid memories of like those particular scenes of this movie. And I remember at that age thinking, oh, to be feminine, that means you have to be like hairless.
Basically, yes. You can't be hairy at all. Yeah.
And like I don't know, like some of these gender norms that are like really deeply ingrained, they're just like so.
Yeah. Well, I think another point, and I think it's kind of to jump off of what Adam said is, so I think it's interesting that Adam, you commented on this topic because for one, it's about femininity for women, and you're giving your impression about what femininity for women is. And what I'm saying is, I think that's the whole point of movie star popular girls, popular women, is they're trying to attract the male attention. Like they are trying to be feminine in order to attract the male look. Like I feel like that is the whole area. So it's just
like how these characters are written, you mean?
Yeah, and like how that's the whole point of being feminine is like you're feminine in order to attract a male to partner up with you. Like that's kind of the end goal for women, I guess, as society has told us. Yeah. Yes. And I think that's really hard to live under that discretion.
I always thought that women wanted to be feminine or whatever for other women more than for men. It's more about your relationship to other women than it is for men. And honestly, so like going off of what you said, Nicole, it makes me think: would you want to end up like think about the type of guy that would go for the girls on that poster and the type of people those girls are? Would you want to end up with the guy that's attracted to that type of girl? I think of the type of, and it's like some fucking asshole douchebag bro that thinks that that's femininity. Like that's like, I don't know.
Right, but I think it goes back to Carrie's comment of some people in the Facebook group is they're building out these muscles that are awesome and amazing, but then their spouses or their partners aren't liking that of them because they have this preconceived notion of what femininity should be, and it's not amazing muscles. So I think it just goes back to, I think as women and as femininity discussion. That was weird. I think one of the things that we have to talk about is the male attention or the male definition of it, because I feel like that's where we're stuck in this rut.
Well, I would also like to interject. What about femininity? Femininity not for women. So people who I don't identify as a woman, but consider themselves feminine, or people who are not trying to attract the male gaze. Because I mean, I even remember when I was with my ex girlfriend and we would go to lesbian bars, there was like, so, you know, obviously there's a lot of lesbian stereotypes as well, right? Like who's the man in the relationship, which is kind of exactly opposite of the point. Or like, you know, she's butch or she's like a lipstick lesbian or whatever. And like, even in those situations, there was like a lot of pressure to be like, a lot of specific pressure on me from my partner to be a lipstick lesbian, i.e. more traditionally feminine. So it didn't even like necessarily have anything to do with the male gaze, but it did really go back to these gender stereotypes. But then I think about like my husband or some other like male friends of mine or non-binary friends of mine who have very like what I would consider feminine characteristics, but may or may not consider themselves feminine. Maybe even want to reject the idea of being feminine, but still kind of have some of these characteristics. You know what I mean? Like it gets really weird.
Yeah, I feel like when you think about femininity and masculinity, I think you can pretty easily separate that, for me, from gender. Because, you know, there are days I feel a little more feminine, and there are days I feel a little less feminine. But even on my least feminine days, I always feel like a woman. You know? Like, I'm a woman. That's just what I am. So I think you can splice those two apart pretty easily, which is interesting. Like putting on lipstick doesn't make me feel more of a woman. You know? Is that how you feel, or?
Yeah, because like even we were watching a replay Saturday Night Live and Kid Cudi was on, and Kid Cudi was wearing a floral dress, right? It was actually a really pretty dress. And and it's funny because the dress itself was very feminine, but then like he also was like rocking some sneakers and like had like a skull chain on, which was kind of cool. It was like an interesting like mix of styles. Like I was totally into it, right? I was like, I would actually totally wear that. But and so, you know, I was just thinking like that was a very feminine look. I obviously do not personally know Kid Cudi or if Kid Cudi feels very feminine or felt very feminine in that moment. But like I could also see him being like, yeah, I feel feminine right now. Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, and so, yeah, I agree. So I looked up the definition while we were talking.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Let's hear it.
So it as an adjective is having qualities or an appearance traditionally associated with women.
That's generic.
That covers a lot of realms. I mean,
right. Because what does traditional mean? Like what generation are we talking about? It could mean a lot of different things.
Yeah. But that encompasses, you know, people's jobs. It encompasses what you look like. It encompasses how you act, what you do around the house. Do you cook or do you mow the lawn? You know, it's just so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, so for me growing up, obviously I was homeschooled. Everyone knows this by now. I was homeschooled, and my mom is not. She's a tom girl. Like we barely wear makeup. I still don't really wear makeup. I sometimes I have maybe one pair of high heels, and that's it. But growing up, I always felt non-woman. Descriptions? Ever? I don't know.
You're going to have to be more specific because I don't know what you mean.
I felt like I was missing a part of this, manual of what a woman is supposed to be, because I was not wearing makeup. I was not shaving my legs every day. I didn't do some of the things that a lot of the popular girls, or a lot of the, more traditional, I guess, girls looked like in my high school. And so I always felt like I never fit in with
Did you
that.
feel like less of an actual girl?
Yeah,
Okay.
I always felt more like one of the emo guys who didn't wash their hair all the time. Like one of those people, not really a woman.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I feel like in high school, I or younger, I feel like I related to boys sometimes more easily, but I still felt like a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was still that definition, or
Yeah.
well, obviously there's a distinction, but
Yeah, I wasn't like one of the boys, but
yeah.
I related to them fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember being teased a lot in high school because I wasn't hitting some of those stereotypes too, played a lot of sports, for example. And I remember at one of our trips, our school trips, they nicknamed a friend of mine and I Manielle and Mansley, because we were too manly.
That's messed up.
That's a lot of thinking behind that nickname.
Yeah. And I mean, it stuck, and it went back to a lot of these feminine stereotypes, right? I played sports. I liked to lift weights. I wouldn't even say I was super ripped or anything in high school, but I liked being active. I had a kind of a wide range of people I hung out with, but some of the people were super nerdy. Some of them were sporty. I had a lot of guy friends, which wasn't maybe less of a thing in my class for other girls or whatever. And so there was this, and again, I was a big girl, right? And compared to the other people in the school I went to, I was one of the taller, larger girls. Not that I would say I was excessively big or anything. I was just stature wise a larger person. And I think again, it kind of goes back to this idea of, it was almost I have felt I was kind of invalidated from the beginning. You're just never gonna hit this stereotype. You can't, because unless I cut off my legs, there's no way to get shorter that I am aware of.
Yeah.
But wait, can we flip that? Because I vaguely remember you telling us that you actually had a little bit of you dabbled in modeling.
I did.
So that would have been really hard to go from just feeling awkward, feeling that feeling really tall kind of feel. That's a lot of feelings in the same sentence. But then what kind of modeling did you do, or how did that affect the little bit of modeling you did?
Saying I modeled practically gave me hives. I never felt comfortable saying it, because even though it was a thing I did, I never felt like I identified as a model. Does that make sense?
But you have said multiple times on this podcast that that's something you don't do easily. You don't want to call yourself a runner.
Yeah.
So that's you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That could be, very well. That could be me. But I did some runway stuff. I did some gigs for clothing companies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I never even looked at that as a feminine thing. I
really?
looked at that as a creative thing. Like I was working with a photographer and an artist to create something. So like for me, it was never like, oh, I want to be a model because I want to feel beautiful. Like honestly, it's kind of awkward. I never felt not awkward on photo shoots. I never like walked into
Yeah.
a photo shoot and was like, I feel so pretty. It was
I
like
got this.
everyone's like looking at my body and they're like touching me and they're like touching my face and my hair. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like I never really liked that feeling, or like you have to be in super awkward positions. So it's not like you're comfortable on set, right? You're just like,
Yeah.
but then the stuff afterwards was cool most of the time. So it's like, you know, I don't know. It was weird because even then I didn't feel like I hit the stereotype.
Yeah. Do you guys think that you hit it now, or I guess like what do you think you're doing, or would you guys say you have femininity? Is that the right grammar?
That is,
are
yes,
feminine?
that works. Yeah.
Right.
I don't feel like a feminine person, generally speaking. I can feel more feminine on some days than others, but I don't ever really feel feminine. And I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Right? That's just like my natural state.
You've accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. Like in my head, it's like petite and dainty and graceful. And I'm like never any of those things. Like
I don't know how to do my hair. My nails are not attractive. You know, I can't put on mascara to save my life, like that kind of thing. But is that really femininity? Like, you know,
Yeah.
Don't you
Maybe.
think that femininity is a spectrum? Like there's all different kinds of femininity. Like I think all of you are very feminine in very completely different ways.
I think that is something you just end up having to define for yourself.
wait, but can Adam, what is your perception of how we are feminine separately? I'm just curious.
Each of us, go.
Go.
I don't think I want to put myself in a position where I say that to you guys on recording.
Oh, okay, fair.
Off the cuff. I would be happy to do that next week, but I don't think off the cuff. That's the kind of thing that I would want to have really carefully chosen.
Yeah, no problem. That's fair. I mean, I guess I don't know, because I feel like some days I feel really pretty or beautiful even.
Yeah.
And some days I'm just like, I don't know, more like low key, and like I'm not really even thinking so much about the way that I look. Not that femininity is necessarily what you look like either,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I guess it depends on the day. And some days I feel like, you know, I'm out doing landscaping and I'm like, I just cut up my hands, and I don't know, not that that's masculine, but like,
Right.
Right. That's the thing. What are these words? How do we use them? It's just crazy to me.
I figured it out. I
Okay,
figured it's
okay.
a way for me to
That
categorize
was fast.
femininity. So Carrie gets shit done, and that is a quality of a feminine woman that I like. Like that's a quality of a woman that I find to be an attractive feminine quality.
What am I getting done?
You just have this attitude of like, hey, you know what? We're going to do it. This is the plan and we're going to do it. And like, let's go. Like that's whether you actually do that or not. That's the vibe that you.
Okay. I get that.
I don't get how that's feminine.
What do you mean? That's
You said that's a quality or like a femininity trait.
yeah. There are. I think that maybe we have different definitions of what femininity is. I mean, to me, if femininity simply is, by virtue of identifying as a woman, who you are is feminine.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Okay.
so that's why I get confused about like I don't feel feminine. I'm like, but you are because you are woman. What you choose and think and do are feminine, and I'm naming the qualities that are feminine that I think are attractive. I think it's hard because these get conflated. Femininity and attraction or being attractive shouldn't be meshed. But it's really hard to talk about this without using that word attractive. But so I don't know. I mean, maybe the way I think of femininity is too far off of the way you guys think of femininity.
Or maybe
And that is why we are talking about this. 'Cause
yeah.
This is interesting.
Or maybe it just goes back to like each person has such a different idea based on their experiences and like the experiences of people in their life who identified as feminine, right? Because the people in my life who I identified as feminine and learned, their qualities, obviously they're going to be very different from everyone else's experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know for me, I would agree with you, Carrie, in like, I feel more feminine on certain days and I feel less feminine on other days. And I know you said, Adam, that's not how it should be. I think it has to do with attractiveness. Like some days I feel attractive. I feel on it. I feel like I could attract any guy in this house, which is only that's fine. But then there's other days where like I feel like a troll on the couch reading my books. Like I feel flumpy. I don't know how else to describe it. Like there's some days where I feel feminine and some days where I'm like, nah, ugh. Here we go.
The way that the words and the verbiage and the emotions that you just expressed are all wrapped up into into physical appearance. And I've never stopped to taking the time to think about this or to talk to women about this. And so this is really interesting and eye-opening because I have never tied masculinity or femininity to how somebody appears. And
that is what is traditionally and stereotypically a lot of what constitutes femininity, quote unquote. Which is interesting. It's not it's not the same with masculinity.
And it has to do with your cycle. Have you guys read that? Where depending on your cycle, there is a time when, sorry, I know you left now, Adam, but there is a time when you are ovulating and you physically are more attractive during those times because you're trying to find a mate and whatever.
I don't know if that's femininity as much as just...
But I think that it goes to like feeling more attractive cycles. Yeah. Like you feel more attractive, you feel more feminine, you feel more like awesome. And then some days you're like, nah, here's those days.
Okay. Question, Nicole. In addition to just like attractiveness level, does the stereotypical characteristic of like nurturing, like mothering, because I would say you're a great mom. You're very nurturing. You're a nurturing soul. Does that make you feel feminine? Because that is part of traditional femininity as well. Does that play in?
Yeah, I don't know, because I've also loved the psychology behind personality traits, and that is one of my personality traits where in Myers-Briggs I am the like defendant or defender. So like that's kind of what I do. Like that's just my personality trait. So
but that's traditionally feminine.
True,
so that doesn't make you really feel feminine necessarily. It just makes you feel like you.
So you're saying your personality, because it's your personality trait, it can't also be identified as feminine?
I don't think so, because there's, men that are with my same Myers-Briggs personality.
True.
Right, but I mean, when you're describing somebody as feminine or masculine, I would argue that you're mostly defining their personality traits. That's mostly what you're...
It's all of it, I would say.
At least from a male perspective. If I am saying that somebody is feminine, it has absolutely nothing to do with how they look, how attractive they are. It has to do with their personality. I don't know that any man would would put more than 25% of femininity on physical appearance. To a certain degree.
And it's funny because when I think of femininity, I think almost exclusively of physical appearance.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes,
Not
and I
masculine.
think
I have
this.
Sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to clarify. It's not the same for masculinity. I define separately, but
Correct.
specific to femininity, I define it primarily on appearance.
And that alone says a lot about our
Right.
society and how it views women.
Yes.
So, Adam, you are definitely coming from a different place.
Yeah.
You know, we were all raised as like, you know, put on your high heels and wear your mascara and, you know, be thin.
I would say the only parts of it where it bleeds outside of just physical appearance for me are things like politeness,
Yep.
being dainty,
Mm-hmm.
not being too loud,
Sweetness.
Asking for help.
sweetness,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
I
being a
find this-
damsel in distress. I think
Yes.
that's femininity.
Yes.
You know, what's so funny is when I can tell that when a person is behaving that way, being extra polite or whatever because they think it's expected because that's feminine. It feels fake as fuck, and I just want to like I hate that person. Like I don't actually hate them, but I'm like I have no time for that fakeness. Like just be who you are, and like I'm okay with that. And so it's so interesting. This is fascinating to me. This is the best episode I've ever listened to.
In your whole life?
Well, yeah.
There's been 67 previous ones. This is the best.
This is probably the one. There's been plenty of times that I've thought, wow, it's so interesting as a male to be able to hear this, because you guys are generally pretty. I don't think you're very guarded at all, knowing that I'm here. But this is something that is like so drastically different between how I think and you guys are talking, and so it's just so like, what?
I would
Well-
be interested to hear other males' perspective as well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Yeah. So if any other males have their opinion about femininity or what they see, I would love to hear your story too.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Adam, you might be really interested then to hear about our next week topic, which is masculinity / toxic masculinity and our perspective on that. So it'll be interesting to hear your take on what we think about that.
Yeah, I have no. So again, I'll have a take on what your take is. I don't really like. Again, I really think masculinity is anything a guy who identifies as a man does.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just not
yes.
that easy. You know?
And I think that's kind of what we're agreeing with here on femininity, right? Is like
Right.
there's like our perception of kind of what was ingrained in us when we were being reared, and not necessarily by our parents, but like by society in general, is not necessarily what we think femininity should be.
Correct.
So, but we want to hear listeners. Oh, unless Carrie wanted to say something.
I did want to tack onto that real quick if I could,
yeah,
because I find it extremely sad that strength specifically, we're going back to like lifting weights and stuff, strength specifically is a masculine trait, because if you think about women, they're incredibly strong and they carry the babies and they have the babies and they raise the babies and they carry all the shit around when they have the babies and they're carrying bags and babies and it's mental strength and it's toughness and it's physical strength and it's all of it. And to me, strength is feminine as hell. So I just wanted to say that.
You are not wrong. And I don't think that you would find anybody. I mean, you probably would. It's hard for me to imagine. Like when I think of women, I think of strong. I think of strength. Like,
As you should. This is what I'm saying. That's how it should be.
you guys push babies out of your vaginas.
Yeah, we know.
I could not do that. Well, I don't.
No, I couldn't.
I don't like. I mean,
But it's what's different is that I think it's forced upon us to have a quiet strength. Like, yeah, we can push babies out of our vaginas, but also we're not complaining every single day about it. Like,
Yeah.
we just do it because we know we have to do it. And I think
that's strong.
Well,
yeah, that's what's different.
And think about all the things we heard as a kid. You hit like a girl. Stop being a pussy. Like, stop, doing X like a girl. Grow up. Get balls. I mean, like, it's ingrained over and over and over that being a girl, being a woman, being feminine means you're weak. And being a man means strong.
Even like Siri, even Alexa, they're all feminine voices and they are our servants. Like, it's such a societal thing that's ingrained in us.
Vehicles, cars, boats, they all have feminine names because they are property. They're owned. So even though technically a car is strong and you can run somebody over with it, it is a property. It's a thing that belongs to somebody else.
Yeah.
If this wasn't a thing, then you wouldn't have all those women on Facebook worried about bulking up too much and what it's going to look like,
Right.
For the record, I would never think of, I name my cars female names if they're, actually every car's had a male name. But I would think most men that would name their car a female name, it's not about that they own it. It's beautiful. They think it's beautiful. So they wouldn't call it Todd.
Todd.
I disagree. I think it's because they own it, and it's
it's a combination of both. I think.
I think it's also subconscious.
I don't think that's
it. It's not all conscious, Adam.
No, right. I agree with you. I still don't think that's it at all. I think you could take 100 guys who've named their car after a woman and put them through a year of therapy, and they would never be able to come to that.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's guys listening who can chime in.
Sure. But I've also owned cars and given them women names and didn't think about it until many years later. Because it is such an ingrained thing to do. Like, that's just what it's done. Like, Gone in 60 Seconds, any movie you've ever seen that has a thing with a name is a female name. I've never seen any movie, any pop media culture, anything that has named an object a male name.
That's a wild claim.
It's not that wild.
I said I have not seen. I didn't say it didn't exist.
No, I bet you I could come with a list of 100 things that you've seen tomorrow.
Well, you've got homework then.
Right.
Get on it.
Listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that it's not the majority. I'm just saying, like, a really wide sweeping claim like that, you're opening yourself up to major scrutiny. But again, I still think I don't think that's any bit of the reason. That are there men who name it because they own it? That sure, absolutely. I don't think it's the.
But if you're saying it's because it's beautiful, they think all women are beautiful. Like, it doesn't translate necessarily.
Generally, men who are naming a car or a boat with a woman's name is after a woman. It might be their mother's name. It might be their wife's name. It might be their first girlfriend's name.
Okay. All right.
I don't agree. But that's okay. We can disagree.
Yes. And
let's all do more research.
Yes.
Yeah.
And listeners, we'd like to get your take, right? Am I right? I am opening myself up to scrutiny. Is there pop culture references where they use masculine name for objects? What's your opinion on femininity, masculinity? We would love to get your take. So you can let us know what you think, and please do, whether you want to email us at womenafpodcast@gmail.com. You can enter the contact us form on our website, womenafpodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Women AF Podcast. You can join our Facebook group, search for Women AF Podcast Facebook group, or you can support us on Patreon. Watch these behind the scene videos at patreon.com/Women AF Podcast. We are Women AF, and we know you are too.
Women AF is produced by Mortar Media and engineered by Adam Rostad. Intro and outro music is SQZ by Shane Ivers. Check him out at silvermansound.com. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.